Good morning. I'm delighted to be welcoming you to the third day of public programming for the Brookings Center for Middle East Policy's International Conference on the Middle East and the New U.S. Administration. I'm Suzanne Maloney, and I'm the Vice President and Director of Foreign Policy at the Brookings Institution. The sessions that we've had so far this week have been incredibly insightful, and I'm looking forward to the agenda later today and tomorrow. But now it is my distinct honor to introduce His Excellency Sabri Boukadoum, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of Algeria, who is with us for this morning's session. Mr. Boukadoum has served as Minister of Foreign Affairs since 2019. He also served briefly as Acting Prime Minister of Algeria in 2019 and has held several diplomatic roles over the years, serving as Algeria's ambassador to Portugal and Côte d'Ivoire. His last appointment before taking the helm at the ministry was as Algeria's ambassador to the United Nations. Many Americans, including one of our moderators for today's session, came to know the minister during his time as permanent representative to the United Nations, but also when he was Director General for the Americas at the Algerian Foreign Ministry from 2009 to 2013. Over the course of this week, Brookings Center for Middle East Policy has featured remarks from thinkers and shapers of policy in the Middle East. The conference program complements the foreign policy program's Sources of Middle East Instability project, which could not come at a more timely moment as the world confronts the COVID-19 pandemic. As a new U.S. administration gets up and running, the project engages scholars to ask critical questions and provide a knowledge basis for policymakers here at home and abroad, focusing on national security and prosperity in the Middle East. To delve into these critical issues today, we have Brookings scholars Jeffrey Feltman and Sharon Grewal to moderate the conversation with the minister. Jeffrey Feltman is our John C. Whitehead Visiting Fellow in International Diplomacy here at Brookings. Prior to joining Brookings, Jeff served for nearly 6 years as the Undersecretary General for Political Affairs at the United Nations, and previously as Assistant Secretary of State for Near East Affairs. Sharon Grewal is a non-resident senior fellow in our Center for Middle East Policy and is an assistant professor of government at the College of William and Mary. Now, to leave plenty of time for the discussion and audience questions, I'll turn the mic over to Jeff and Sharon. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. And I would like to add my warm words of welcome to Minister Sabri Boukadoum, who I had the pleasure of working with both as a U.S. official when he was Director General in the ministry, and then as a UN official when he was permanent representative of Algeria to the United Nations when I was at the United Nations. And let me say to those of you that are participating today virtually, send your questions into hashtag US Middle East or events@brookings.edu. And I look forward to moderating along with my colleague Sharon Grewal this discussion today with the minister, and I will start off the conversation on my part and later turn to Sharon to take the reins. But Minister, I mean, I saw both in my U.S. role and my UN role, Algeria playing an important connecting role. Connecting the Arab and the Arab world and the African world, transcending the divide between East and West, with your context both East and West, between the global North and the global South. And given that role that Algeria has played as sort of a crossroads, diplomatic crossroads, I'm wondering if you could start off by sharing your thoughts on what the priorities should be for the Biden administration, since that's the topic of the conference today, in your region, the Africa and Arab world region. What are the priorities you would like to see the Biden administration pursue in your region? And again, welcome and thank you for joining us.
The mic? No. Yeah. It's okay. Do you hear me?
Yes. Okay. Hello.
Hello, Jeff. Hello, Susan. Hello, Sharon. Good morning to everyone. Here it's still the afternoon. According to my position, I have to be very diplomatic. But anyway, I think the United States. I would speak very generally, in general terms. I hope you will understand. I think the U.S. the new U.S. administration. Do you hear me well?
No. Sabri, we hear you very well.
Okay, perfect. So maybe I should use the word. Yeah, there is a reconquista to build for the U.S. administration towards Africa, to have to recreate the credibility that was somewhat affected by the in Africa and in the Arab world also. We need an America which should be the beacon morally, and not only the might with the right together. This is what we hope and we expect from the new U.S. administration, and to participate, not to turn their back on the world. I understand that the national interests of the United States is defined by the administration and by the Americans, but your national interest is also the world. We have, what you have been doing more or less for the last 70 years. We need to see you in the world. We need to see the Americans in the world, the U.S. administration. Something like where we can shelter, where we have problems, we can shelter. We go, wow, you have these guys there in Washington. They could spread out and say things and do things also that could gather everyone, that morally, legally, and politically should be as I said, beacon. So this is mainly what I hope, what I expect, what I wish. There is enough room for the Americans to in defending their interests also. But this is how can we defend the interest? Is that you should not, basically, very simply, do not turn your back on the world. So this is what I expect, Jeff.
Thanks, Sabri. Sabri, as I said in my opening remarks, Algeria is kind of a crossroads between North and South, East and West, Arab and African. But ironically, you're in a part of the region that's the least integrated. In terms of Africa, the sub-regional organization for North Africa is the least effective, and it seems to me that greater integration would be in everyone's interest in terms of fighting terrorism, in terms of economic growth, and we all know that there's a big problem between Morocco and Algeria, between Morocco and the area over Western Sahara. But I'm wondering, there are lots of countries have conflicts on specific issues. In the past, Morocco and Algeria have found ways to cooperate, even despite the big difference on Western Sahara. Is there a way to sort of compartmentalize that issue on behalf of greater cooperation region-wide on things like counterterrorism and economic development? Is it possible to continue to disagree and look for a solution for the Western Sahara while also cooperating on other matters?
Yes, if you go back to the recent history, I think you mentioned also the Union du Maghreb Arabe, about the Union of Arab Maghreb, was set up while the Western Sahara was already on the table. So then in the late 80s, the UMA, or Arab Union, AUM, I don't know how it's the English acronym, the UMA, because it's like the Arabic UMA, the UMA was built with the Western Sahara issue in the hands, and I'll say the counterpart we said then under the King Hassan II and the President Chadli here. So the decision was taken to leave the issue to the UN, already there on the basis of a free consultation of the people concerned, the people of Western Sahara. And we have decided, they have decided, and we have the inheritors of this period, that we will build the UMA, the Arab Union, with Tunisia, Mauritania, and Libya also. We have signed an incredible amount of agreements on all fields. And there was this kind of agreement on the way forward. Leave it to the UN. Let's help let's find the solution for the integration. We have completely ruined everything because the Western Sahara came back, but it's not. I have to defend the reality. today, mainly the Moroccans are saying that because of Western Sahara, nothing could happen. So, of course, we are losing a lot, everyone, in terms of integration, economy, facing together the challenges, as you mentioned, terrorism, development, illegal immigration, so many other issues. Yes, and the discussions with the European Union, which are our main partner, that everyone goes alone, not as a group, which would be our interest would be better defended if we would have gone together. It's not the case. But yes, I agree with you. It's sad. This is the situation. We have to face the reality. When if you think about if everyone will think only about the very narrow interests, then we don't move, and we don't move currently. There is a tremendous potential, but which is completely left aside. Yes.
Well, what could happen to break through this paralysis, so that at least on some issues you can cooperate region-wide?
Well, there is definitely, yes, there are so many issues. We cooperate with Tunisia, we cooperate with other neighbors in the south, with Mali, with Niger, with Libya, even with Libya and Mauritania also, and unfortunately there is no cooperation. What can we do? I think there is a tremendous amount of mistrust between, I understand, between ourselves, between Morocco and Algeria. Maybe it's been going on for a long time. It's not easy to confront every day. It's a really daily problems with reciprocal accusations. I have to say there is a misunderstanding that could lead us to something that we don't know. As far as Algeria is concerned, we don't want to see. There is this press campaign, daily press campaign. It's not a normal situation, definitely, between two neighbors. It's the same people, very frankly, the same people. If you go to the streets, the same challenges, the unemployment, the youth unemployment, the challenges of the future. But we are not doing anything because there is this mistrust. There's the question of Western Sahara is absolutely, we left it to the UN, but no one is doing anything. We can go. I don't know if you will ask a question about this, but anyway, this is a serious issue. This is not the only issue that we have with the Moroccans, but this is mainly, yes, it will help. So can we disenfranchise the Western Sahara issue from the other? It will be very complicated. But we did it in the past, and why not in the future? If we just cool down the insults, the daily insults, that don't help. So daily at the highest levels, that is sad. But this is a situation we deal with real facts.
Sorry, Mr. Minister. Yesterday, I had the honor to have a conversation with your Moroccan counterpart, with Minister Bourita, and I'd like to ask you the same question I asked him. On the Western Sahara. There have been 3 personal envoys since 2007. There have been 15 face-to-face meetings between the parties in Morocco and the Polisario, with the presence of Algeria and Mauritania, the neighbors. And yet, there's been a complete stalemate. There has not been a breakthrough. There's not been a way forward for that mutually acceptable political solution to provide for the self-determination of the people of the Western Sahara. Why do you think, through 3 envoys, 15 face-to-face meetings, all these years, there's not been the ability to move forward?
It would be very easy to point my finger to other side. The reality, I think, what happened in and we have the ceasefire was broken. You should not forget that today. So there is fighting right now. So, which is a different situation from the last at least 29 years, if I can count. It's a different situation. We mentioned the Union of the Arab Maghreb. When former president, head of states, King of Morocco and president of Algeria, they said, leave it to the UN. We left it to the UN on the gentleman agreement, or the agreement that we will fix the problem of Western Sahara through a referendum, to a consultation of the people of Western Sahara involved in that. And by the way, the idea of the referendum came from the African Union, but it was promoted by the King of Morocco. It's not Algerian. And the Sahrawis, let's put the facts, Sahrawis agreed to the ceasefire on the conditions that there will be a referendum, free consultations. I think it's easy to understand for the Americans. This is self-determination. It's in the UN Charter. It's in your Declaration of Independence. It's in our Constitution, and everyone accept. I think freely. Let me say something very frankly, Jeff. I confirm whatever the people of Western Sahara will decide on their future will be accepted by Algeria, will be promoted by Algeria. If they want to go to stay with Morocco, so be it. But if they want something else, let them give them the free choice. This is no more than some kind of democratic challenge that we have in our face, in our hands. The change, the difficulties came when the Moroccans switched from the idea of referendum to a so-called proposal of autonomy. But that was not accepted that was not rejected, by the way, just to give the correct representation. That was not rejected by the Polisario, not rejected by Algeria. We said the Moroccans want the autonomy plan. And the Sahrawis said, okay, they didn't say no. They said we have our own proposals, and the Moroccans have their own proposals. Let's discuss. And we supported that. But afterwards, and since 2007 or 2008, if I remember, the Moroccans said, no, this is the only thing. And this is what they pretend that the Security Council has acted accordingly, which is false. To this day, Security Council has said, we have the Moroccan proposal that some, including the United States, says is credible, and you have also the Polisario proposal. So they did not reject at all. They want to stay to directly negotiate with the Moroccans. And I said, and I told you, I think before, we will be very happy to support and to help these direct negotiations. But I cannot discuss on behalf, not Algeria, as I'm sure Burita has said the same thing yesterday. Said we are not going to discuss on behalf of somebody else. We will support, we will help, we will follow, we will support any outcome that will decide, but we will not be the ones who will decide on the fate of someone who is not of my people. That is very simple. So it's for the last almost 30 years. When we agree on something, and with the support of the Security Council, with the support of the whole international community, and then you change the term. You cannot change the rules of the game during the game. You cannot do that and then pretend that this is realistic. This is not realistic. This is not realistic. Everyone can say what is realistic. What is realistic is what the outcome of our negotiations, not of one side. So I hope I still think that you mentioned something very important, that is a mutually agreed solution. Yes, it's a mutual. One mutually means at least two. So it's not a one-sided solution, and you cannot avoid here on any other place on other conflict. You have to look into the fundamentals. There is an occupation. Someone who's saying that this was given by, I don't know, the Lord, the Supreme Lord, and others say let's fix it by the norms, international law, the general consensus of the world, the UN Charter, and so many other documents, the African Union Charter also. You cannot just change this because it is your interest, or you cannot do that. So okay for negotiation, we push for negotiation against any armed conflict, but do it very frankly and bona fide. Do it, stay, and they will have the support of the whole international community if there are any. But they cannot decide of the outcome before negotiations. You cannot say this is realistic, this is the only solution. Then there is no negotiation. It's not a negotiation.
Sorry, Minister, let me ask you one more question about the region before, and then turn the moderation over to my colleague, my Brookings colleague, Sharon Grevel, to hear about some of the domestic developments. Libya, it seems to me that we're at the most promising moment in Libya since 2015. I'm not saying everything's rosy, but the ceasefire that was in place de facto since June has largely held, indicating that the internal and external actors feel there is no military solution, that they have to find a political solution. You have the agreement that came out of the Libyan political dialogue forum. You have some security agreements, some of the economic distortions have been addressed. What would your advice be to the Biden administration, how to look at Libya now, how to stabilize Libya? What's the Algerian policy toward your next door neighbor?
Yes, this is, as with Morocco, by the way, and Libya, it's, I can say, it's really the same people, the same feelings, the same challenges. Even though we are 45 million, they're less than 7. There is this continuity between the families, the tribes, and the history also that counts from this side. They helped us during the fight for liberation of Algeria, the Libyans, then the king, Idris. So there is the talahum in Arabic. I mean, we are together. We feel, and we have the same future. We have some future. Anything that could happen in Libya will happen to us, as in Tunisia and as Morocco, very frankly. So we do not. Our goal, our wish, our strong desire is to have a peaceful Libya, and in peace between the Libyans. As you said, and Algeria, from the very beginning, we say there is no military solution. There can't be a military solution in Libya. There's only the possibility, the only option, there's no other one, is dialogue. A dialogue between all Libyans, inclusive dialogue, where you have when you have everyone together, the tribes, the regions, the 3 main regions, all the tribes. And this is the composition of this country. And you can add some elements of modernity. So we have and we were. I was personally involved, as you know, Jeff. I went several times there, and I met almost everyone, and to say the same thing. And after evaluation here from this fight, we think that the only possibility, first, as you said, political solution. Diplomatic political solution between the Libyans. And we have to fix the question of legitimacy and the legitimacy would be given by the people, not by groups, not by persons. So we strongly supported the idea of having elections, presidential elections. We start from the top, and then the Libyans go below the other levels. Representation, and it's up to them. Representation by region, or you have to find something where the power sharing between all the Libyans, and they feel, they will feel that they belong to one country, to one nation, and accepting the rules of democracy. So this is why we supported, and we strongly supported the UN process. In supporting the UN, we had our own ideas, and we discussed them. The Libyans, till today, they are begging us to get more involved with them. But we said, after Berlin conference and the UN involvement, they say, no, we support the UN involvement. We continue to discuss with everyone. I should not hide it to you. We continue to discuss with everyone. We want a peaceful solution. One of the elements also, I think, elements of complication is the foreign involvement in Libya. That is something extremely worrying. Today we have boots on the ground from everyone, or almost everyone. I think to my knowledge, the only ones who are not, they don't have any military presence are Algeria and Tunisia in Libya. So to the 2 neighboring countries. So we will continue. We think the idea of election is perfect. You have to prepare. You have to be very cautious because of the foreign involvement. All the different groups that are involved in what is happening in Libya, what has happened for the last almost 10 years, they all have someone who is backing them up. So they will continue. So you have to face it. This is a reality. How can we convince with diplomatic work that, and diplomatic action with everyone, having everyone on board? I said to many of my colleagues in Europe and in America also that your interests will be better preserved if you accept the rules of the game. Do not think you will preserve your interest if you're alone in Libya, because if you think that you will get all the cake, others will not accept it. So let's sit together to help the Libyans, not to have something on behalf of Libyans. We should push the Libyans. I always said that I have one technical diplomatic techniques that you've done in the State Department before, is to I hope it's not aired elsewhere. It's you lock them up in some kind of place, like as you did it in Camp David or whatever, and you do not get out until you have a solution. So no military, no nothing else of this kind. And this is a solution. I think we have there are Libyans very smart and very patriotic, and they have to build this Libyan state unified and thinking together, thinking that we have to convince them that they live in one country. It's in the interest of everyone, not only the Libyans, and starting with neighboring countries. We are not, as you know, our policy and our strong belief, we are not very happy in seeing military presence in our neighborhood. So we say very frankly to our friends, and many of them are friends, that we wish the Libyan would defend themselves by themselves. And if you add on all the ones who are there right now, by the way, sometimes officially, sometimes not that discreetly, but they are it's not good for the future. It's not good for that. So we have the chance to say it very frankly. We do not say it publicly, but it's not helpful. So yes, Libya elections, creating the legitimacy, how to create legitimacy, coming from the people. And when you start with the top of the pyramid, then you can go then afterwards everywhere with adding the factors of the region, 3 main regions, the tribes. You can find some ingenuity in finding the solution with the Libyans. It's possible. It's possible. But everyone has to be on board.
Minister Sabri, thanks. Let me introduce you now to my Brookings colleague, Sharon Grewal, to talk about some of the domestic developments and hear your views on that. So Sharon, over to you.
Great, thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Foreign Minister, first of all, for taking the time to be with us today. I want to pivot from foreign policy to the domestic scene in Algeria. Algeria just recently passed the 2-year anniversary of the Hirak protests that toppled former President Abdelaziz Bouteflika. And today it appears that protests are re-emerging. So I want to ask you what you make of these protests. What, in your mind, are the grievances that are leading Algerians into the streets? And what do you think it would take for the government to satisfy the protesters' demands?
Well, I thank you. You hear me? It's okay? Okay. Well, I'm more a specialist. Well, I'm not even specialist of foreign policy. So, but I have to, in front of Jeff, I'm not that, I have to be very modest. But I would speak as a citizen, not as a minister or member of the government. I strongly believed in our last constitution, that was adopted just 3 or 4 months ago, on the 1st of November last year. So this constitution, hearing the Hirak, the protest, that lasted for almost a year. And as you said, that resumption, not a big one, but there is a resumption, I think, for the anniversary just 2 days ago. I think in the hands of especially the young people, there is a possibility to create their own movement, but to be inside the system. If they want to change the system, they will have the possibility to change. Because of the last constitution gives tremendous power to the parliament, tremendous power to the parliament. The government in 3 months, inshallah, will be coming out of the majority in the parliament. So where I stand here, I will tell you that The problem should be, would we have transparent, free, fair elections? I would tell you yes, because it will be controlled by the people, by the one who are protesting. So what I'm asking as a citizen, please go and participate and change the thing as you want. This is and the Constitution allows that. The Constitution will allow that. You will have the government. It's any posting and the decision, policy making. You will do that. And the one of the decisions also, because of the Constitution, we are opening the possibility for especially young people, but it's open to anyone. Create NGOs, create any association, create political parties, and even the government will finance the campaign. So we'll avoid the money coming from sources, from lobbyists or from sources not so transparent. So I hope, especially the young people, what the young people represent more than 70% of the population of Algeria, you have the possibility to change the things. You want change, then change it. Do it yourself. This is because you're young. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to someone from Algeria. So do it. So, I mean, the protests. It's okay. You have the freedom to demonstrate. You're demonstrating for something. For what? What is the goal? Is it to change the things? Then you have the possibility. If you don't believe, then go back to demonstrations. But start changing the things. With the society is opening, the economy is opening. I think the president is doing his job. This is I think it's very seldom you see that in our part of the world, that one president who is giving up some of his powers, the constitutional powers. So I think we should support that. We had there was these conditions that you had to free the so-called opinion people who were arrested for that. There was a pardon to just a week ago. So. I mean, maybe you should tell me, what can we do more? What can we do more? And and I have many friends who are not with the government, not supporting the. So this is exactly what I'm telling them. Please go ahead. If you want to shoot out the Minister of Finance, do it. It's in your hands. Do it. If you have doubts about the political process, if you have doubt about the elections, control yourself the elections. This is not the government. So do it. You have 3 months. If you have any problem with finance, it will be financed, transparent, and publicized. So this is what I believe, very, very frankly. So,
if I may follow up about these upcoming parliamentary elections, I think you've hit the nail on the head that the issue is about building trust in these upcoming elections and therefore encouraging the participation of protesters into these elections. What measures can the government take to build trust in these elections? What message do you have to the protesters for how these upcoming elections will be different from the previous ones, the 2019 presidential elections, the constitutional referendum that suffered from relatively low turnout? What message can you send to the protesters about how these upcoming elections could be different?
Well, besides of my word or the words of the president, of others who are engaged, I remember President Reagan, who said once, trust but verify. So trust us and verify. Do it. What will be the problem? You have 3 months. In 3 months, normally we have elections. You can control. I mean, the citizens, it's in the power. It's in our interest. It's not to please the Americans or somebody else. We believe in that. I believe in that. It is that you give the power to the president, but you accept the rule of democracy. You have to accept that you will have elections afterwards. You have rules written in the Constitution. We will have a constitutional court now, independent. There is already an independent authority to supervise, to monitor the elections, any election, by the way, not only parliamentary, including presidential elections. And by the way, anyone could, I don't know where is the problem. If you tell me what's the problem, I will give you the answer today. So when I told you I have many friends inside the protest, I say, tell me, explain to me, and tell me, I'm not a politician, but explain to me so I will help. I say we have opened up the economy. It's not easy. It's not easy. We've been living for 40 years a state-managed economy. We still have a lot of bureaucracy, yes, but we are fighting it, and we have this mistrust. Yes, you're right. How can we? I don't know. We cannot rebuild or build the trust overnight. But we're doing. So see what we are doing. Do not judge me beforehand. Wait until the result. If then everyone, you will have, all the journalists, all the world, all the think tanks will see if it's true or not. So I'm giving, follow us during the next 3 months. I'm telling you, I will not be here, but I'm telling you, but it's my country. So give us a chance and to also demonstrate. This is not a big number, very frankly, but you have to listen to them. During the Hirak, the first week of the Hirak, we have 12 million people in the streets. It's not the case today. So there are many, I know I have friends, including the bosses. Organize yourself, organize, build political parties, and move on. Do it. That's you. I mean, you cannot just protest for protest. That's if you protest is to have something. But tell me what. You're young people, maybe you understand that. Tell me, what do you want? What kind of change you have? We've changed the economy. We have opened up the economy. You have the political reforms. Maybe it's not enough for some, but it is an opening. To me, it's a tremendous opening. This is, I'm telling you, the first time where the parliament would decide who will rule the country, the government. The government will be issued from the majority in the parliament. You do not find it elsewhere. So in our neighborhood. So it will be you want to change it yourself. You have the possibility to change it yourself. Oh.
One additional follow-up on the elections. One of the issues with the previous elections that we hear from Algerians is that they did not feel that the protesters were consulted in the process in terms of the electoral law, in terms of the other regulations to ensure the elections are free and fair and represent Algerian voices. Are there initiatives the government plans to take to include the people's voices in the upcoming process in the next 3 months before the parliamentary elections?
Listen, if you mention the new electoral law, it's not done by the government. This is I don't say it's independent, but they're professor of law, internationally recognized. If you don't believe in them, then where are we going to bring them from? And they will do that by consulting. By the way, I myself am consulting. I told you I have many friends, not in the government, so I have many friends. I'm telling them, please come and share. Bring your share. Explain what's your problem. What are you afraid of? And there are many who wants to discuss, but they don't want to discuss publicly because of the pressure of the streets but they are ready to discuss, but not publicly. So I mean, if I give you the possibility to decide of your own future, the future you want, and you tell me no, it's not enough, then it can come something like anarchy. But you have the possibility. Let us stay within a framework that we decide together. You decide, and you will vote for this. So, I mean, you have all the guarantees. Why you have all the guarantees? Because you will control the result, and you will decide what will be the result. So, I mean, I'm speaking to you as like you are an Algerian. It is in your hands. It is in your hands. Change it. And if you don't believe, you have all the international observers, all the people who will defend you, who will not accept it. Who is going to accept it? We want to have stability in my country. So it's not junta, whatever someone would say. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It will be the people, to the people, and from the people. That's what we want to build.
Sharon, if you don't mind, I'm going to grab the mic back. And Sabri, thanks for your comments on the domestic situation. We have a question from the audience that I'd like to incorporate into asking you about the question of terrorism. Terrorism has plagued the Arab Maghreb and Algeria in particular well before we in this country had 9/11, and the phenomenon has evolved over the years. it seems as though that Algeria has vanquished the AQIM threat, the inside Algeria, but the terrorist threat continues in Mali and the Sahel, and it has evolved and hit other regions, including in Europe. And I'm just wondering, how do you see the evolution of the terrorist threat that Algeria suffered from and fought against? And what advice do you have for the Biden administration on how to address the current terrorist threat?
Well, thank you, Jeff. I remember when I was, you were at State Department, I was political director here at this ministry. And then we used to say, terrorism is terrorism. It's not political violence. And we used to hear this word, no, it's political violence. It's just you because you have, you did not accept the result of elections, but it was a matter of survival then. So, and we say this is terrorism. I would say the things have changed after the whole world. Let's go back to the fundamentals. There is no one who is immune from terrorism. No one. There is no citadels. There is no. It's not possible. We have to work together. Everyone. We have to work hand in hand. We have to share information. So how can we vanquish? Yes, we vanquish. We still have some from time to time in some very remote areas, but all in our neighborhood, we're still facing it's a threat. We consider it as a threat against us. The biggest terrorist attack against Algeria in the last 10 years was in Turin, if you remember, where we had 1,500 hostages and more than 30 deaths. And it was next to the border to Libya. And the terrorist group came from northern Mali, and they crossed along Niger and then Libya, and then entered into this oil facility and did what the horrible things they did then. So this is how we are interconnected with Mali, with Niger, with Libya. So when we say the situation, what we can do, yes, we have to fix the problems, political problems in Libya. We have to find a solution, a durable solution in Mali. We have to find a solution in Niger. We have to work together. We have to work there is the techniques, you know them, thinking together, politically, acting together, exchange of information, intelligence, and the rest. No one is immune. Do not think that because, including in Algeria, that if we have avoided for the last 20 years now this kind of terrorist acts, we do not consider ourselves as immune. It is still a threat. When you have all the Sahel, one of the axes that we have to work together. How can we? I was in Kidal, by the way, just 10 days ago. So I wonder if you know that. So I brought with me 6 ministers from they have been 11 years without going to Kidal in their own country. And if you go to Kidal, there is nothing. There will be, again, nothing, no water, no schools, no police, no postal office, no nothing. How can we rebuild the state? You have to build the authority of the state there in Mali. The whole Sahel, and it is still going on. This is still going on. So how can we help the governments out? And what you're doing, by the way, what you're following is how can we reinforce as it was mentioned even for Algeria, is the participation of citizens in their own future, in their destiny, that people do not feel disenfranchised. There is no, for most parts of the Sahel, there is no other solution because of the poverty, because of underdevelopment, and this is hopeless. There is no other solution, either going to trafficking, including going to terrorism, or immigrating to the north. That there is nothing. If you see, I was in Kidal in Gao. If you see the huge amount of equipment that you have for MINUSMA, for Barkhane, but just one, the money that I put in the MINUSMA and the Barkhane and others, you know what we can do if you just a small portion. What we can do in building schools, in building water wells, in recreating the presence of the state, in building school. I mean, just one teacher is $100 a month. And we can buy just to it's the MINUSMA, and you were at the UN. MINUSMA is $1 billion a year for the budget of MINUSMA, and 70% is going, so 700 million is going to protect MINUSMA. You know what we can do with $70 million in Kidal, in Gao, in all these areas? So many things. So how can we put this money, these resources towards the people? How can we fix them? This is the challenge. This is a challenge. And the presence of the state. I mean, the state is just seeing the policeman, seeing the postal office, seeing the teacher. If there is no state, then this is in the hand of the groups. Sometimes they go with you, sometimes they go with terrorists. So they will make more money in just trafficking cigarettes or drugs or human trafficking than just sitting idle against trees. That there are now no trees, by the way. There's no trees. This is the desert, completely desert. So yes, how can we? It's sitting together and discussing together and meaningfully what we want to do, developing these countries, the whole Sahel, and stopping accepting this racial, that is racially motivated action. This is not true. This is terrorism. There is no other things. But in Bamako also there was a coup. There is no other wording for what happened. But against the state. But the state was not doing its job. There is no possibility and no hope, no future. How can we rebuild the trust between the Malians, between the Libyans? In Niger also, they had very transparent elections, but I just before this meeting, I was told there are some demonstrations, violent demonstrations. So, I mean, the international presence should work together. We all work together. I mean, when you mention Algeria, African, yes, but we need everyone. The Europeans, by the way, are complaining because of illegal immigration coming from Algeria and Morocco and Tunisia and Libya also. I say we are complaining because they're coming. We have tens of thousands of people who are migrating to Algeria, and the ultimate goal is the north. It's going to Europe. It's not Algeria. But we are doing. I'm telling very frankly to our colleagues in Europe, I do not want to do the police for you. So if you don't work with us, I'm going to let them go because they don't want to stay Algeria. They want you to cross the Mediterranean. So there are many things, and I mean, dialogue, diplomacy, negotiation. This is what I want.
Sabri, you've mentioned several times about the international community needs to come together for this issue, that issue, counterterrorism, supporting the Libyans and what they want, etc. But we've seen the international community in the context of the UN that you just mentioned is often sharply divided. And I'm going to ask you to think about back to your UN experience. I mean, historically, Algeria has had close relations with Russia and China. You have very complex relations with France. You have growing relations with the UK and the United States. You were in New York for a number of years representing your country to the UN. How can you build international consensus behind some of the solutions that you suggested? What's your advice to the Biden administration for rebuilding a sense of unity in the international community, overcoming the paralysis in the Security Council, using the UN more effectively?
Oh, that's the big issue. That's a big. Well, very frankly, as I would say, if we had an agreement or some kind of agreement between the superpowers, then everything will be easier. Definitely, if we have an agreement between the United States and Russia and on so many issues. Then Libya will be easier to solve. Then the Sahel will be easier to solve. That's definitely. If you fight each other, then others will pay the price. It was the case. I told you. I go back to your first question that I think what we need today. Do not complain that others will go to China or to Russia or to others. But if you turn your back, I mean the United States, not you. Not the Brookings, but if the U.S. administration turns its back as this, I have to say it for the last 4 years, then do not complain if others will go elsewhere. That's normal, natural, and they will do it. This is a reality. This is a reality that you have to deal with, and you have to rebuild. The question that was asked by Mr. Sharan about how can we build the trust? You have to build the trust between you and your allies, by the way. The Americans and the allies, first by the Europeans, on Russia, on China, on Africa. Africa should be a way of cooperation, not of competition between the big shots. The problem is the Africa will be affected because of the problems that are created by non-African powers. That's going back to the 19th century. That you cannot share the Africa, then they fight on the resources or something else today. So rebuilding the trust, working together, Security Council. Yes, I hope if the American administration will send some clear messages to the whole world, not to Algeria, to the whole world, including in the Security Council. Some of the last decisions that I noticed are very good. Very frankly, this is not out. I should not say that, but this is not bad at all. It's very in the contrary. I hope that you will engage with everyone, working together, and your interest will be preserved. The American interest will be preserved in talking to everyone, and not insulting everyone or turning your back to everyone. So I really hope that the message from the Biden administration, we do the right things. They should do the right things, and saying we are doing the right things towards peaceful solution everywhere. Discussing with you cannot go. Well, that's a very modest way to say. You cannot ignore what the fact that the policies. Maybe it's up to scholars to study that, but the fact of policy, you have lost ground. The Americans have lost ground with Russia, with China, some issues, and today, of course, not including some of those who are supposed to be the strongest allies of the America of the United States. You have to rebuild yourself. You have to rebuild the trust between everyone. But with the big shots, we will definitely follow, because we do not have any global interest. No, we have our regional interest, but globally, no. It's going back to international organizations, going back to the WHO. This is right now with the COVID. Well, how come the United States are not there? We're not there. This is the question mark. So this is where the trust should be built, rebuild.
Sabri, let me ask you one last question, Minister, from the audience, and then we'll let you get back to your own ministry's responsibilities. And we have a question from a journalist who asks, what's the role that journalists can play in the region over the next couple of years, and how will your government ensure their safety? And that's particularly important given that you have elections coming up. So it's a question about the role journalists play and how you will protect them.
Let me say personally, freedom of press is a cornerstone of all liberties. I think it's clear. So freedom of the press is the cornerstone of all liberties. This is a kind of this is a real power. So we have to accept. I'm not very happy what this Algerian journalists write on me or on my work, but we have to accept it. So and it's good to have this kind of observers. They monitor what we are doing. It's very important for the sanity of the institutions, whether they don't have the level of American journalists or others. I'm speaking about Algeria. But I think we should help them. We should protect them, definitely. No one should be jailed because of his opinion about what he might have written, but he's a citizen. If you do something that is unlawful, I'm not talking about journalism, but something else, then no, journalists are very important to us. In the future, there will be some kind of independent monitors of all the process, and they will report to their audience and to the whole world. So I can assure you I have many friends in the press, in the Algerian press, many friends. I disagree with them. That doesn't mean that I have to harm them in the country. I will do my best to protect them. I will do my best to protect them. So.
Well, Mr. Minister, I want to say thank you on behalf of Sharan and me, on behalf of the Brookings Institution, the Center for Middle East Policy, for the time you spent with us, for the analysis that you've shared. I look forward personally to seeing you again, not virtually, but in person, when travel can resume normally again, but maybe not in Kidal. Maybe we'll meet somewhere besides Kidal. But anyway, I really very much appreciate the time you spent with Sharon and me today and with our audience. And I encourage the audience to stay tuned because we'll be moving right into the next session. And really our best wishes and appreciation to you, Mr. Minister. So thank you, Sabri.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Sharon and Suzanne. All the best. Thank you. Thank you. All the best.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos from Brookings.